Hello everyone, it's John from Brisbane, and today I'm going to talk about a little company called Judges Guild. Yes, they produced a lot of stuff. Pardon me. Winter's caught up, or decided that it's going to make a reappearance here in Brisbane, and it's not really cold, but just a little chilly. But anyway, today I'm going to talk about Judges Guild, and they produced a lot of, I suppose, relatively cheap material, and I suppose part of their cheapness was the fact that they really did print it on really cheap paper, and it shows. And to be quite honest, I'm surprised that it's survived. And I've collected, and I'm not sure if people remember them at the time, but they did produce a magazine called the Pegasus, and I'm quite sure some people will remember it. But yeah, it was the Pegasus. Pardon me, the Pegasus. And now I'm going to cough all the way through this. So what was it? Yeah, they had first issue, premiere issue, had an interview with, pardon me, Dave Arneson. And fantasy installment was The Black Ring. It features Disease, again by Dave Arneson. Judges Tables for AD&D by Lou Pulsifer, who I think at the time mainly did a lot of stuff for White Dwarf, because I can remember reading a lot of stuff for him from White Dwarf. Then we had a fantasy adventure called The Forgotten Mines by Dave Goodsell, an 11-page role-playing adventure, and then a 36-page city-state campaign installment inside. So yeah, it was that was the certainly nothing to compete with the Dragon magazine, but to be honest, what the hell were they selling for? I don't even know if they had I don't even think I've got any here that. All right, so it's sold in Australia for $3.95 Australian. So I'm not sure, considering I think we were paying twice American, double the American price. So if it was, say, $4 Australian, might have been selling for $2 American, maybe even cheaper. I don't know, but I'd say it might have been a $2 American price. But for $4, it was another thing that was popping up on our magazine racks back in the 80s. And again, it was one of those things that was it was really the rage back then. I can remember, each week there'd be something coming into the shop, because my wife worked in the game shop in Brisbane. In those days, there were essentially only two shops. There was Execu Games, and then there was Napoleon's Military Bookshop. They were really the only two shops. Later on, there came Daily Planet, and they were, I think, later in the 80s. They started to come in, but and then it was that was the Pegasus. I honestly don't know how many issues they produced. I collected up until issue number 11, so I'm not sure how many more that they produced. But so I was, for me it's a blast from the past. Every now and again I will drag them out and have a look at them. But they produced a lot of fairly cheap material, which I found. Sorry, I'm being very rude. I'm turning my head at the camera, and people are going, John, that's not very professional. Of course, well, hey, look, I'm a Mickey Mouse production. I'm no high-end producer, but you know, they produced a lot of good stuff. That okay was you know, they had Judges Guild magazines, so they had, well, sorry, their other thing that they produced was the Judges Guild. So they produced their thing called the Dungeoneer, which was their own, you know, their own publication. So they had the Dungeoneer. So the Dungeoneer. Well, actually, well, maybe I got the Pegasus magazine wrong. But yeah, Judges Guild, the Dungeoneer. I might, but yeah, the you know, fairly not the highest end. So they were, you know, $1.75 US. So they'd have probably been selling for $4 Australian. So yeah, so they're my. I've got a small collection. They're not, you know, got a variety, you know, artwork. So again, mainly stuff, obviously, of course, for Dungeons and Dragons, and you know, I'll go back there and pilfer bits and pieces that I like, because of course most of the young people today don't think of anything from the past, or the few that do plagiarise, thinking that nobody remembers the past except for old farts like me, and then wonder why they get caught out. But yeah, so anyway, that's my small collection of yeah, Judges Guild magazines, the Dungeoneer, which I've kept. But yeah, they produced a lot of, you know, Judges Guild produced a lot of stuff that was, in my opinion, quite handy, and you know, they were cheap. You know, they produced things like the Castles book, so you ended up with you know, a whole swag of castles that you could, you know, that if you wanted to, you know, you had adventures, you needed castles. We had, oh, must go stick that with my Dragon Quest stuff. So you had heroes and villains for Dragon Quest, because they did a whole heap of things for other systems as well. So let's put that aside, actually. Then we had things like fantastic personalities. So that was for people that were looking for, you know, for particular, you know, oh geez, I need a person. You know, we've got things like an 80-year-old halfling, or you know, a long-time campaigner at 25, awesome, and all sorts of, you know, if you desperately needed a fantastic personality, hey, there we go. We had somebody you had. And what have we got here? We've got heroic expeditions. Travel along perilous trails to prove your stature as a hero. Here are quests for halflings and half-orcs, and one especially made for your character. So, you know, there's a, you know, another, you know, obviously an adventure, which is quite good. And then you had things like, I can't even, you know, and of course, sometimes they chose print fonts that I can't even read, you know, and they're going, what the hell is that? Is that an F, a 2, a T? I presume it's a T. I can't even tell, to be honest. But, you know, small adventures, which were quite good. Another good, you know, a really useful one, Book of Treasure Maps. You know, it's comes in useful. Desperately looking for back in the day. You know, of course today most companies, or certain companies, do produce things. Then we had Wondrous Relics. Really useful. Yep, Wondrous Relics. Hey, geez, I need something. What do we got here? Ewell's Jousting Helm. Talking Skull of St. Broca. weapon breaking shield, you know, Queen Hilda's misbegotten friend, brown unicorn horn, you know, things that, you know, just really odd, wondrous items, you know, something that's useful. Of course, I posted this, and of course, read that and say whatever you like about that one. I won't say any more. That was, yes, entertaining. Then we had this one was always quite popular at the time. Ready reference sheets for Dungeons and Dragons. So that was really, really popular and quite sought after at the time. So that was the second edition. What have we got here? Then we've got essentially a whole heap of you know, dungeons, you know, thieves, more dungeons, which were under the Storm Giants. Again, they were only $4. Admittedly, it's not cheap either, I suppose, but we had, you know, dungeons, Inferno, dungeons. And of course, Gen Con would, they would produce some of the ones that they ran at Gen Con, or Gen Con's dungeons. The original approved Gen Con 9 Dungeons Collector's Edition. There you go. So, I don't know. Does Gen Con even do that anymore? I don't know. Anybody watching this who goes to Gen Con? Dungeons and Dragons. Do they do that? I don't know. I don't follow Gen Con because obviously in Australia it means absolutely sod all to me. You know, again, Dragon's Hall. You know, lots of wonderful little adventures that I've kept. You know, because once again, I just go and read them just for nostalgia. To be quite honest, you know, that's just the ones that I've kept. I did have more, but you know, this residence that I bought, and admittedly it's 20 years ago now that I bought this place, I didn't realise that it flooded. Yes, never believe real estate agents and that, but unfortunately we were rushed at the time for having to find a place, and but anyway, I lost a lot of stuff because I had everything on the floor, or I had a lot of stuff on the floor, and I lost most of my comic collection and a hell of a lot of my games, which really upset me, to be honest. But yeah, so and of course they produced all sorts of things, like they even did one for Empire of the Petal Throne, one of my favourite role-play games. So, you know, Empire of the Petal Throne, and you know, they did pull these out because that's actually another video that I'll do. But again, you know, Book of Treasure Maps, you know, which is you know, always useful. You know, always, you know, very popular at the time. Wondrous weapons, you know, people were always looking for wondrous, you know, zombie bowls, all sorts of, you know, even had a bloody boomerang in there of all things, you know. It was really, really popular. And I did have at the time the complete set of the city-state, but I weakened back in the 80s. There was a chap that I met in the shop who was desperately trying to complete his set, and generous John went, I'll help a person out. And I helped him complete it. And of course now I've got an incomplete set, don't I? So, but, you know, I helped somebody. So I really don't regret that to some degree, I suppose. It's just my nature. I help people, but now I sadly find that too many people take advantage of me now because they realise that John's collections, yeah, worth too much, and they're only interested in, you know, milking me, and I'm no longer milkable, I'm afraid. Again, another book of treasure maps, which is really good. So you know, it's a lot of, you know, I just love the little bits of artwork that would pop up in things. So it's really good. But the other one I've got is that I really enjoyed, and it's not here. It's actually sitting off in another one, of course, which was Teagle Manor, which was I suppose like their Tomb of Horrors. Teagle Manor was another popular one. But anyway, that's my Judges Guild haul. I think, who knows, there may still be some more of it lurking around. I think I might have it all, but who knows. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed a little blast from the past. As usual, I'm not above begging. If you've got any old bits and pieces you don't want, send them to me. I'll be more than happy to look after them for eternity. Yes, I intend to live forever. Well, hey, I have lived forever. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching. So, till next time, the Honourable John.